This is Scott Bryce. This is July 16th, 2019 is today's date. If you hear some noise going in the background, hopefully you can hear my voice over it. I'm next to an air conditioning unit that's outside. This is my worm bin. I'm about to set up 2 experiments. Before I do, let me show you a little bit about the bin. The bedding is primarily shredded cardboard with some paper and leaves mixed in. The worms are very well fed. There's kitchen scraps, coffee grounds, and as you can see, there's grass clippings. And you pull a little bit aside here, you can see, hopefully you can see the detail here, that this is thick with worms. There are a lot of juveniles in here. I'm expecting in the next month or so the juveniles will grow up and this bin will be at full capacity or very close to it. I have 2 experiments. One is dog food. I want to see how the worms respond to dog food. This is dry dog food that's been soaking overnight. It's in a container that's full of holes, so the bacteria and worms are able to move in and out. My hypothesis on the dog food is that it will behave much like bread, since it's mostly grains. It will go moldy. It will become a dry, hard mass. Once the mold runs its course, it should the mold should die and the worms will move in, and I believe they'll have a feast. The second one, this is actually bedding, cardboard, soaked in hamburger grease. There are some facilities that will compost kitchen, restaurant grease waste. Their technique is to soak up the grease in bedding and then hot compost it. I want to see if a similar technique will work within the worm bin. So this is day 1, and I'll start out by burying both of my experiments in the bedding. So here I'm digging a hole. No, I don't mind digging around in my bare hands as long as I don't run into anything poorly mucky. As you can see, I tend to run my bins a little bit too wet because I don't like the top drying out. The reason I'm putting these in these containers is because as I check the moisture, poke around in the bin, this type of thing, my concern is that I'll disperse the contents around the bin and I won't be able to tell whether or not I have a valid experiment. I did this with dog food once before, and I did it that way. The dog food wound up getting dispersed in the bin. I believe it was eaten by the worms because I haven't seen any sign of the dog food since then. But I can't prove that that's the case. But like this, we'll be able to see whether or not the worms crawl into these containers. So here we go. These containers are buried in the worm bin. And over time, we'll be able to see, let's see, there we go, you can see them like that. We'll be able to see how the worms respond. I have something else I'm trying in the worm bin since the weather is very hot and dry here. There's a tendency for the top of the bedding to dry out. So I'm covering, let's just see what I'm doing here. Got a lot of worms in here. But I'm covering the top with a piece of fabric. This is an old cotton shirt, and I'm hoping that this will hold the moisture in so the top doesn't dry out as quickly. And there we go. My experiment is set up, and we'll check on it in a week or so and see what happens.